While the body was given a couple of days to cure, I could move on to the interior in the meantime. Firstly, all the parts were cut out of the sprues, cleaned up a little bit, some of the mold lines were removed, and I could then move on to applying primer to all the parts, even the tiniest of the tiny. And with that all done and out of the way, I could move on to applying various different colors, starting with the main interior color, which is a new one from Zero Paints. It's called Saddle Tan, and then I will add a lot of details and even some secondary colors after masking some of the other parts up. I will be applying carbon fiber decals to a couple of these small interior parts like the door handles and also some trim parts on the steering wheel, so I just painted the rest of the parts black, and some of the parts like the door handles I painted in a gunmetal gray, or in this case metallic gray, to act as a really good base for the carbon fiber decals to lay on top of. After masking a couple of parts like the ones on the door panels where the stitching was done in that diamond pattern off, I could move on to painting the rest of the interior in a flat black. To give a bit more detail to a mainly black piece on the top of the dashboard, I decided to mask it off and cut out the speaker grills and paint those in gloss black. I did the same to the door panels, just to make them stand out a bit more and not blend into the rest of that piece. On Facebook, I'm following a lot of very talented builders, and one of those builders gave a tip about using clear coat as a glue for the flocking. So the rest of the piece was of course painted black, or in the color you would want it to be. Then I applied the clear coat to it and the flocking on top. I don't know why, but it stuck really well and covered extremely nicely, so I'm going to do that in the future from now on, and I will also link his Facebook right here. As mentioned in the painting stage, I'm going to add a couple of carbon fiber details here and there, and therefore I needed to make some masking templates, so I applied some masking tape and then lined it out with a permanent marker, transferred that to the carbon fiber decals from Scale Production, cut them all out and applied them with some decal setting solution, and further formed them with a heat gun and some decal softening solution to perfectly conform to shape. The decal I'm using here on the center console was a bit oversized, so I needed to cut that back. Now be aware this can be very dangerous and potentially ruin the entire decal, as it's not really cured and the knife can easily catch it and rip it entirely off. So be sure to use a super sharp knife and not a lot of pressure, and also be aware that this can go wrong, and it will go wrong a couple of times, so if you can avoid this, please do. With the decal now cut to shape, I took out a Q-tip or a cotton swab, made that wet with a bit of water, and then carefully pressed all the remaining decals into the position it needed to be and conform to the shape of all the underlying buttons perfectly. Yes, I am fully aware the Lamborghini logo needs to be on the left instead of the right side where I placed it, and I like it this way, so not that I could change it because it's already in place and dried, so just moving on. I decided to add a couple more details to that center console by touching a lot of the buttons with a small dab of white paint to simulate the logos that are normally on there and are highlighted with a LED light behind them. With most of the detailing now done, I could start with some of the assembly. All the parts were just assembled with some super glue. I have links in the description down below. I noticed that I had forgotten to paint a couple of the small details on the seats themselves, so I started painting them and also touched up some of the pedals, gave them a bit of black to fit them in a bit better.